Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. How's the week been, everybody? I hope you've done well. I was kind of looking over your comments there about more and more weird alien species showing up in the histories. I swear there's like a new one every couple weeks. Like this native tribe had this one, and there was the ant people, which I'd never heard of, and it's just endless. I don't know. Are we going to get all these things eventually? Maybe it'll take a lot of shifts. I don't know. Like they're starting to talk finally. I knew it was coming about it looks like there might be some kind of life thing that grows on Mars, maybe. So there's like, it's going slow, but we're getting there. Yeah, the other thing is the synchronicities are definitely off the charts. It's kind of gotten to where I just like, yeah, that again. I mean, for the smaller ones, where it's like, oh, I was just talking about yellow-bellied sapsuckers, and then 10 seconds later, there's I see a flyer for one or something. I almost said the internet, but there's the big question about whether Alexa or whatever listens in, so I don't know on those, but there's enough syncs that, I was just thinking it in my head. I didn't say it out loud, so I know that, like, the computer wasn't listening in. The Royal Reptilian have wings. I don't know what the Royal Reptilian is. I have a book full of different alien species and descriptions. Well, keep looking at it, because I wouldn't be shocked if, like, new ones showed up in there. You're talking about like the telepathic chit chat. I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of like the normal way to do it. I mean, like, think about it in dreams and stuff. You can always do that. It's just like natural. So maybe I kind of wonder if that's just part of coming here, is that we're going to like give up all that and see what life is like. I often hear it's kind of like, it's almost like we decided to pretend that we can't do those things. Like it's like a video game where you have, you have a bunch of your skills removed so that it'll be more interesting, that kind of thing. So probably telepathy is one. What do you guys think of the Snake Eyes movie? I didn't watch it, but first of all, I have to say, has anybody ever heard of the Snake Eyes movie before the Charlie Kirk death or whatever it is? So I didn't actually watch it. I kind of looked over the wiki for it. That's it. Yeah, see, it seems like it was like a action mystery kind of movie. Somebody gets killed, and the guy's name sounds a lot like Charlie Kirk. It's Charlie Kirkland, and there was a Tyler in there, a guy named Tyler, and there was like just so many similarities. But it's just weird because I've never even heard of it, and then everybody's like, "Oh, Snake Eyes." There are so many weird things. Like if you've watched, like there's so many things that are getting dug up about other people involved too. Like this guy has no history, and this guy was so there's some storyline now that maybe Tyler didn't actually volunteer to turn himself in, but he was kind of like pushed into it by that sheriff guy. First we were told that his dad was a sheriff, and then they're like, oh no, actually it was some other guy that his dad knew that was a retired sheriff, And supposedly that guy came over and said, hey, look, Tyler, you have to give up, blah, blah, blah. And so that could explain why Tyler actually, they're saying he's not cooperative. And now there's a whole question about whether he ever confessed to anything, because the only confession is that ridiculous text message that doesn't sound like any child or 18-year-old anywhere on the entire earth. And one thing neat is watching the Republicans and the Democrats finally agree on something for once. And I think they pretty much all can agree that that text message is BS. So there's that, okay? It's just been, there's so many crazy things, and it's just every week there's more crazy. So it's almost laughable. I mean, there was a trap door right under his chair. What are the odds of that? You know, I mean, like, even if there was, like, you'd think they'd hide it better. So I've definitely noticed there's a lot more like old music videos, because like Michael Jackson has a lot more. I mean, there weren't a lot of channels on in the old days, you know, so when MTV came out, a lot of us, we would just put that on, and you could talk and, you know, have chit chats and then watch this and then still talk, because it's just music videos, right? So you didn't have to pay attention to the plot line or anything. If you had 15 minutes before you go, put on MTV, because you don't have to worry about the plot line, you know. I mean, it was like just something back when MTV had music videos on, which it was invented for. And I really wonder if that was their downfall when they got too far away from that, because they had like a niche that everybody could go to. They wouldn't be the top show in the world, but I think they would have always been a show that people would have watched, like in the middle. But anyways, but you know, you would see the same music videos over and over, because we would just watch it all the time. And it should have been all of the ones that existed just about, but now there are like so many more. It's crazy. Everything in the news is weird and fake looking. Yeah, you know, I think it's a combo of, it really is more over the top stupid now. Like, they don't even try to come up with logical sounding arguments anymore. I mean, like, some of them I'm like, come on, there is no logic in that at all. And so I think that's part of it. I think the other part is maybe we just became a little more discerning. We become more jaded and less naive. And, you know, older people, that would happen naturally, but the younger people too. I think there might be more sensitivity to these things now. So it's kind of an interesting thing that the observational skills, I think, have improved on a lot of people. Not everybody, though. There's a batch that it seems like it's gotten way worse, and they can't see, you know, something right in front of their face. So that is also an interesting split that I've seen. Yeah, it was just a simpler time, you know? You just chat with your friends, watch MTV. If you were kind of home alone late, put on MTV for a bit. Cooking some dinner, put on MTV. Okay, so you guys talk about this Pega donkey. And, all right, there's the name of it. And frankly, I was having trouble finding it, because when I put it in the Google, I just got like all these cartoons. And at first I thought that maybe it was a cartoon animal, because that's kind of a problem now. That there's like anime worlds. Wait, I thought I just saved the whole thing. Didn't I just save? No. I wanted to save Humendo Pega. I feel like donkeys have definitely evolved, because they just used to have those little guys, those little runty ones. And now they have like these huge ones. So that was kind of the thing. They were more of a pack animal before, because they weren't that big. And they would just carry, like, they'd help you carry your stuff, was more of the thing. You could ride on them, but not if you were super, like, if you were a big guy, you know, the poor donkey couldn't carry you that far because you were big and donkeys weren't big. So they'd put like 70 or pounds of like crap on them and then have them be pack animals. And they are like really sure-footed. So they're good for that. And they can eat all kind of crap compared at least to a horse without getting sick. Okay. Pega donkey is a rare Brazilian breed. I'm going to laugh. It's the same one. Okay. So these guys are just like, they're like pretty cool looking. They don't look like, they just don't look like, they don't look like a donkey. They look like, I don't know what they look like. The ears are, I mean, like, what is that? Okay, so they've shaved it. Was it fuzzy? This one, it's weird because it looks like it has a, like, cloak over its neck or something here. Why does it have that? I have been noticing that, like, in the horse world, oh, look at those man parts. Holy Christ. I just realized. You know, with a horse, they're kind of up under there a little bit. They don't hang down like that. Like, you kind of have to put a little effort in to see the horses. Okay. So you were saying something about they shave them, but they leave the tuft. I'm a little confused because I have not seen, like, people shaving the ears of horses. So, like, they don't have the tufts, and it's not because of special shaving. Jumento. Alright, do we have, like, it in English here? Editar, ver historia. There's not a lot on here. Let me just see if I can understand this. Google Translate. Hold on. I could sort of understand some, but I'm gonna go ahead and just do it properly. Pega. Like, detect. Put it in English, please. Breed of donkey. Originating Brazil. Origins are ancient and unclear. One theory suggests descended from Egyptian donkeys. Others state Pega descends from a cross between European, Italian, and Andalusian breeds and the African donkey. African donkey. What? There's a million kinds of donkey now? Used for riding and drafting. Alright. There's not much info on these dudes. Oh. Okay, so remember before where I said holy hand grenades on that back stripe, the dorsal stripe? Well, it looks like this thing has this huge, weird... What is that? Like, it's, I don't know. Very weird coloration on these dudes with this thing. Now, I think that the shading here is from shaving. But if you're saying that this tuft is from shaving, then that means they have super fuzzy freaking ears, which is also different. I'm confused. There's very little info on these poor guys. Pega. Rabbit horse. I was thinking that. That's funny you said that. I mean, horses have big ones too, but they're like kind of up under there. They don't just come like down on a little string and then come out. It looks uncomfortable. At first, their stripe just went wacko in all different directions. Then they gained extra lighter lines between the thick black lines. What are we talking about here? Horses, I guess. Oh, zebras. Okay. Because horses are starting to get some weird stripes kind of like the zebras. And then the horse zebra hybrid is getting pretty common now. Like in the horse world, I keep seeing them at like breeding facilities and stuff. And the storyline about how them being so difficult to train is starting to fade. I remember reading the donkey has a cross from carrying Mary when she was pregnant with Jesus. Holy daughter. I was just looking at the dorsal stripe like 6 months ago, saying I was freaked out about that. Then they did not have that other part of the cross. Holy hand grenades. The donkey cross. I thought it was just a dorsal stripe, not a whole cross. Now they have blanked out. Oh my God. That was just the stripe. Anyway, I don't remember seeing anything nearly as extreme as that one with the really dark lines on it. Okay, so this guy here, that must be what that is. But then here, what is going on here? Is that a lack of shaving? Now you'll notice like this is becoming very much a thing where the outer hairs are a different color than the inner hairs. So you shave them and they're a different color. Used to be you'd shave like a horse and it would just be the same color with shorter hair underneath. Now it's like it can be a whole nother freaking color. And now there's this whole storyline of like having a winter color and a summer color. So they grow their long hair and then they drop it off in the spring, and now they're a whole nother effing color. So like there was a horse on that is red, like this red or even darker red, like a red brown horse in winter, and then it becomes like whiter than this one in the summer. So it's just crazy town. I don't know. You can get like you get a 2-color horse now. You get tired of one color, well that's okay because it's coming out with another color in the next season. All right, there must have been a shift because you guys seem pretty comfortable with that weird line there. I remember the dorsal, but there might have been a light shading, but now it just looks like a whole, it really does look like a whole cross. Okay, so this is what I found. I'll put that Pega horse on there. Pega donkey. Yeah, the donkeys are looking more like elegant or something other than the ears. So the universe will have to do something about the ears. Okay, so there's a thing now, and these are violets, that the plant called violets. Apparently now there's a thing where plants have two kinds of flowers. They have an above, not all of them, but they have some of them have an above ground flower and a below ground flower. Now, you can't make this stuff up. Violets have a below ground flower as well as an above ground flower. And these are the below ground flowers, and they're smaller, and they don't open, and then they're self-fertilizing. And I'm sort of like, why even have them then just grow like offshoots? Like, why go through the whole, I don't know, is there kind of a shuffling of the, maybe there's a shuffling of the genome, but I mean, if it all comes from this, I don't know. There must be some kind of genome shuffling, because now they can be, there's parthenogenesis. Somehow they managed to still shuffle the genes, because the whole XY chromosomes, now there's a whole bunch of other versions besides X and Y. And it's so complicated now. I swear, like, I'm starting to say I'm not smart enough to follow stuff in this timeline so easily, and it takes a lot of effort to learn one thing because it's pretty complicated, and then it just changes on you anyway. So I'm sort of like, I'm not going to spend too much time on it unless it's important for what I'm trying to get done. Okay, so the word then is the humble sweet violet. You may know its leaves for their demulcent, moistening, and nutritive qualities and their ability to soften and hydrate. But did you know that the violet and all plants in the Viola genus have a wild way of reproducing? Okay, one set above those. Okay, one set that is above ground, those purple beauties we see in early spring, and another set that grow entirely underground and are jointly responsible for the plant's reproduction. The latter, which tend to form their magic in the summer and fall, make violet a cleistogamous, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, cleistogamous plant. Oh, so they don't even, I didn't even catch this. I just saw this a few, like, right before the show, so I didn't get much research done. But so, okay, so they don't even shoot out the flowers at the same time. They have the above ground flowers come at a different time. I guess you could kind of maybe think, oh, it's, if you saw those, you'd be like, oh, maybe it's leaves that are not formed yet or something. But it is interesting to me that they just happen to look confusing enough that you could write them off. Most flowers reproduce using via chasmogamous, above ground flowers, the typical open flowers you see that require pollination. Except for they don't, because a lot of the above ground flowers don't require pollination. They're self-pollinating. Cleistogamous flowers are closed, self-pollinate, and are often produced underground. Viola is the largest genus of cleistogamous plants in the world. Largest genus meaning that there's the most of them that do it. So I guess the question now is, what other plants are cleistogamous? And I had tried to kind of look it up, but then it just, let me try again. Hold on. Let me see if it'll even answer. You know what? I should totally go to. See, I have 10 million things saved. Let's go to DeepSeek. It looks like it was a hard question. It takes it a while to answer. Many violets. Common examples include peas. Peas are cleistogamous. Peanuts, pansies, and violets. Was all the peas? Pea, and violets. Peas, peanuts, pansies, and violets. Widespread within the grass family. And also found in many orchid species. Peanut, garden pea, jewelweed, whistle, dayflower. Cleistogamous flowers never open and are self-pollinated within their closed buds. This is a form of autogamy, guessing on the pronunciation, where pollen is transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. Disadvantages: reduced genetic diversity. Found in over 50 plant families. Okay, so common plants do this. Let's see if there's any more we've heard of. I mean, granted, peanuts, peas. Who hasn't grown peas? I have never seen a below ground flower. This is kind of sneaky though, because you don't dig up your plants very often. All right, it's going over the same ones. Dayflowers, cheatgrass, some orchids, jewelweed, touch me not. It's not giving me a lot. All right, good enough. All right, whoever knew about that, below ground flowers. It sounds ridiculous. Like, why even have the flower? Bees die too easily. They should change the storyline. So, that's the whole weird thing about that, is they're like, oh, the bees are all dying. And then now the current story is there are too many honeybees, and honeybees are risking the native bees. And I think a lot of native bees that never existed before showed up, like those bright blue ones, and there's all kind of bees. So it seems like whenever the story is, they're all dying, what is actually happening is there are more and more, because it just seems like every time there's that fear porn of them all dying, it's actually generating more. Nothing ever goes extinct. It doesn't. Like, nothing you already knew about that exists now will go extinct. I bet you. Because everything I've ever heard of that, there's only 3 of them left, and they're gonna go extinct. And then what happens? Like, so, okay, there's only 3 there's only 1 male white rhino left. And he's going to die. And then I'm like, oh, that's okay. Maybe they really will go extinct. But then the next time I hear is that the southern white rhino is like there's 100 of them, but it's only the northern white rhino that there's only 1 of. So like now there's a second batch of white rhino. So it was the closest I've seen, but now is that white rhino thing. So the universe generated a new batch by splitting it. We need them for honey. Yeah, but did you know? And I bet you did not, because it's freaking ridiculous. But about a year ago, I found out that about half the pollination in the world is done by effing mosquitoes. So we don't need them for pollination because we have freaking mosquitoes. And the story now is that male mosquitoes don't even bite humans. They just pollinate. They live on pollen. And only the female bites humans, and only to reproduce, because she needs it supposedly to make eggs. But otherwise, she eats pollen too. So now we don't need the bees, do we? I swear that it's just like, I'm not worried about freaking anything, because every time there's a storyline like that, magically there's a solution. The universe generates a solution. I guess the underground flowers be an additional way of reproducing in case the main method fails. Correct. But I mean, they could just do, it just seems like extra, because a lot of plants just produce little offshoots, like pups off the side. So wouldn't that be easier than making a flower? You don't need to go through all that. Just, I mean, there's plants that produce little baby ones, and then the baby ones just rain down all over the place. Of course, this way is more interesting to humans, but blue bees simply did not exist when I was a kid. Yeah, I know, and neither did murder hornets. Rhinos look pretty much alike. Can't they just engineer more of them? I think they are changing more and more. Remember, there just used to be the one kind, and now there's a lot. So I wouldn't be shocked if down the line they did take the DNA and just like create another one of the extinct ones. But like I said, the universe created a whole new side branch of the white rhinos anyway. So they're right when they said, oh, that one has extinct. Oh, but the southern white ones or whatever are still, whatever. There was 100 southern ones suddenly where there weren't any before. No, I hate mosquitoes. I will trade bees for mosquitoes. Yeah, I know. Let's see. I'm going to make sure this is still true, but okay. Mosquitoes pollinate. In 1913, it was first determined that mosquitoes are pollinators. It was determined that the Aedes communis was an important pollinator of orchids. Okay, whatever. Mosquitoes do pollinate. Adult mosquitoes, both male and female, primarily feed on flower nectar. While feeding, they inadvertently transfer pollen. Oh, butterflies also pollinate. Interesting. Okay. They're especially important for certain plants. Grasses. Many plants have multiple pollinators. This is interesting because now they're kind of signaling out this one, but then they're also saying they all do it. So is this one like a special extra pollinator? Because last time I looked, there wasn't like just this one that they were really fixated on. Surprise, they're pollinators. Yeah. So yes, they still are. It does look like the story has shifted a tad. All right, now we have an ongoing theme of survival after death. I don't know, like the body can survive longer after death, apparently. So now there's a dude who did experiments on this, and his experiment was that he thought that if he injected the dead person with epinephrine and blood thinners and then put him on a teeter-totter to like get the blood to like circulate, that they would come back to life. So he tried it on dead humans, but it didn't work. And then they're like, well, these have been dead too long. We need to try it on freshly dead. So he experimented on dogs. He euthanized dogs, and then he injected them with the stuff. Then he put them on the teeter-totter, and some of them did return to life afterwards. So it actually worked, sort of. Now they did say, at least for now, they're saying that they didn't have very good brain function after that, but they were alive, breathing. And the weird thing is there's not a lot of info on this. Let's see. Cornish managed to revive 20 dogs in 1934 and 1935. There apparently is a film called Life Returns, but that sounds like it's only loosely based on his life. So I don't feel like I want to go watch it to find out what happened, because especially in the current timeline, they'll be like, oh, reality will keep shifting, and then they'll go, well, that movie was wrong because you can't trust movies. So it's sort of like Houdini's death, and like, oh, he actually didn't die from being drowned now. That was just in the movie. So I do believe he did actually drown that way before. But okay, the 2015 film The Lazarus Effect, American science fantasy horror, blah blah, was based on this guy's story too. Okay, I don't know if any of you guys watched it, but okay, so apparently you can restore life. The other thing is, like, how long were these dogs dead? I was actually looking for a little while and I couldn't find out how long they were dead. I wonder if Deep Sea can answer. Let me see. This is a tough question. How long were his dogs dead before he revived them? I'm always curious what I'll get for questions like this, because these are really tough questions. I don't know if the answer's out there. Okay. Oh, I did find it. All right, they're saying they were only 5 to 8 minutes dead before resuscitation efforts began. All right, so he named his dogs Lazarus 2, 3, 4, blah, blah. All right, Lazarus 2, 6 minutes, revived but died 8 hours later. 5 minutes, revived, blinds. Could eat and bark. 5 minutes. Ah, return to near normalcy. All right. 5 minutes isn't that long, though. After heart stopped. Revived, shows encouraging signs of recovery. All right. This is interesting because there's only 4 of them here. That other source said that there were 20 dogs. I think that this one is like hot off the presses as far as Mandela's. There's very little info. There's almost nothing on the wiki. The details are off. I don't even know where it got this info from. The teeter board. The dogs were placed on a seesaw device to mechanically rock the body, simulating a heartbeat and promoting blood circulation. Adrenaline and heparin were injected to prevent blood clots. Cornish also breathed into the dog's mouth to provide oxygen. All right. Well, it did better than I would have thought. I wonder where it got its info. 9 web pages. Let's see. All right. I've looked at some of these already. All right. Why am I here? I want to be here. He looks like the Charlie Kirk shooter a little bit, but so does everybody now. Like small jaw, the tight lips. If anybody was watching, the actual shooter had like dark glasses and all this stuff on, so you can't really see much other than his lower jaw. I think we're gonna get more and more stuff that's going to come up on this, and that we're gonna have more and more of this revival business. Ah, yes, Jane. I did hear that Jane Goodall passed away. So there's much chit chat about Mandela effect Jane Goodall. If people don't know, if there's any Mandela people living under a rock, one of the Mandelas was that we remember her dying in, what was it? I think for most people it was around the 90s. And then that other, like, there was all that memorial business, and then suddenly there was a different one that died. Like, this other one showed up, and it was her that died, and Jane Goodall was still alive. And I had never even heard of that other one, and now off my top of my head, I can't remember her name, but... So, Jane Goodall, I think if you're a little younger, it's harder to remember her. She's famous for, like, working with certain species of animals. And she was like one of the earliest environmentalist, one of the early woke types, I would say. Like, kind of like the whole guilt-mongering, humans suck and these creatures are so valuable and we're all destroying them and like that. I mean, I guess I'm getting really jaded. I didn't really think of it that way at the time, but now that I kind of realize that the animals just sort of magically have more and more of them, I'm kind of done with that narrative. Yeah, no, if you're like 50, you'll know Jane Goodall. If you're like 30, you might not so much. You're waiting for your Lazarus effect experience. I don't know if you didn't know that many people who died, it makes it harder. I have not had an in-person Lazarus effect, but I've definitely had it with famous people. See, a lot of people I didn't want to say who it was because, like, there's some people just remember her working with gorillas originally, and then she was the chimpanzee lady, and somebody else was the gorilla lady, and the gorilla lady died. I think I have that correct, but there's like this, so that's why I'm like, that's part of the Mandela is which one she was working on. This was also an interesting little thing because this Cornish guy who was reviving the dogs, he wanted to try it on a human. So he tried to get it so he could get one of the lethal injection criminals that was scheduled to die by lethal injection. And this little blurb just caught my attention because I don't really remember ever having heard about methylene blue until maybe a year ago. Maybe 2 years, not more than that. And I know a lot of people that are all into that kind of thing. And so it's interesting now, suddenly, way back in the 30s, Dr. Cornish was going to use methylene blue, and the plan was that was going to neutralize the poisonous fumes that they used for the, I don't know how they killed that guy. Maybe it wasn't injection. Maybe it was gas. Oh, okay. They were going to execute him by poison gas. Okay, so he thought that the methylene blue would neutralize the poison gas. I wonder if it was cyanide gas, because I know methylene blue does neutralize cyanide. So maybe that's why the methylene blue. But it's just very interesting that to see the word methylene blue on here when I never ever heard of it ever before. Okay, so his plan was that guy would be killed by cyanide gas or whatever chemical gas they used. He would inject methylene blue to neutralize the poison, and then pure oxygen would be pumped into the lungs through a mask, and then he would use the teeter-totter board to slosh the blood around, so that, that all the stuff that he injected would mix, and then the oxygen then apparently would flow through. Basically, the teeter-totter board sort of took the place of the heart. So apparently then this was turned down. That the state of California said no. Later, he retired from medical research and marketed the product Dr. Cornish's tooth powder with vitamin D and fluoride. Fluoride, huh? All right, so I don't know. So I guess that's him. I don't know. There's an image. I don't know if it's from the movie. It's really him. Yeah, see, I mean, methylene blue, it's another Mandela. I'm really suspicious. I mean, I can't say for sure, but there's been, let's just say, some other stuff that showed up, and I was really suspicious that was a Mandela, and then it got really, really shifty. So I learned all the details on it, and then 6 months later, there was a whole bunch new details. Okay, so what was I gonna? I think Jackie was talking about this, and the problem is I really need to go home and dig out my old images that I had so that I know this is not the same as my old image. I have it saved somewhere on the computer, and I really need to transfer them to the cloud and back over to this computer. So I'll be looking at the exact same images as before. Because part of the problem now is that this original painting now looks like this. Very conveniently can't see crap. And so then everything that all these images are just like guesstimates of what it looks like. So one thing I've noticed, though, is that the guesstimates, a lot of them are missing. Like most of them are missing those, whatever the thingy madoobles that were in here. And the other thing is most of them, all of them that I checked earlier today, Jesus has no food on his plate again. So that's changed. The other thing is I think these were like potatoes before, but now are they, I don't know, they look like donuts or something. Like there's more differences on these. And so I need to look up my other image to see. But I looked at a number of images and it all showed no food on Jesus's plate. So I think we're like back around. And the other thing is, I swear that this character that is not Mary looks more like Mary like all the time now. The hair, everything. So they're just saying this is an effeminate man, but I'm like, yeah. And this other man is clawing his hand down his shirt. And I don't know. It's just getting like more weird all the time. This guy looks like he's given the finger now. I think there's been a little bit of shifting or somehow just a little different, like how things look. I don't know. I really need to look at my original one though, because again, it might be that that's just a different conception of it. Let me just look at some of the other ones. Google. They definitely have, I mean, like, they don't put anything on a plate anymore. Most of the crap is just laid on the tablecloth. I mean, for me, that was originally a wooden table. Everything was different. All right. Let's see what other conceptualizations we have. All right, so that one is pretty close to the original. That is the original. I'm pretty sure that's the original. So he pretty much does look like there's nothing on his plate again. I wonder if this is actually like a fixed original or something, because I'm kind of confused on these. It doesn't look as good as that. This one does have those side things again, but a lot of them don't. What is that up there? What is this? Oh, strange. It does kind of have it. These are so high on this one. Okay, so yeah, there's definitely no food. So what were these before? Weren't they like bread only, I think? Because it just looks like now, some look like bread, some look like donuts. Some are too small. So it does look like these chunks of crap are different, because before we just had these loaves, okay? Okay, so if you put bread right on the tablecloth, that's not so weird, because bread is not like slimy, right? I mean, but now you have this and this. What are these? And you can see them on here too. They don't look like bread. And those are super tiny. So you're right. There's more crap on the table. What's up with this hand? It's a clutchy claw. All right, you can't see much there. This hand also looks kind of weird. So some of us remember way back in the day that these were wood glasses, not glass. I swear to God, they look like they're plastic now. They look like little cheesy plastic cups from Walmart. All right, let's see another. Is that the one I just looked at? That one's not very realistic. Let's try a different one. Maybe this one? No, that, I think we looked at that one already. It's interesting because I'm not really finding the one that I probably have at home. Maybe this one? Restored. All right, let's try this one. Okay, this one does not have the thingies on that side, but it has a few weird squares over there, but they're not like the gold things. No food on the plate. This looks like Mary again. The clutchy hands are still there. I feel like this character here, like, I don't remember like this, so I think that the shape of the hands there being weird. I think it was more like this. Now it kind of looks like he's got a neurological condition or something. But yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I've been watching over and over is there was food on the plate, there was more food on the plate, there was no food on the plate, there was some food we're back to no food on the plate. I don't know if that's good or bad. Let's see. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Rocks to hold down the table. I mean, they have plates. That should do it. The bread on the plate keeps flip-flopping around. I think for a while they were saying he had fish on the plate. So this is the second time around that there's been nothing. And nothing is not the original. Pillsbury Doughboy was blue. I looked it up most images. Really? Pillsbury Doughboy? We have blue dough now? Alright. This will be interesting. Pillsbury Doughboy. It's blue. Okay. Not blue there. You mean the clothing, right? You don't mean he's blue. Because that would be crazy. Okay, one thing I could say for sure, I don't remember that circle at the top that says Pillsbury. I'm absolutely positive I have never seen a circle on the hat that was blue. For sure. Now, what was the Mandela? You know, it's awful. I feel like I just lost a lot of brain cells in recent shifts because I can remember there was a Mandela, but then I can't remember the details on a lot of stuff. Now, I know it wasn't this freaking blue circle thing. It was this scarfy thing. I think the shape here is more like it. But I kind of, this is now looking right to me. The blue, like it was like he had a blue scarf, but it changed to something else or something. Or did he have a white scarf and it changed to blue? And it was scarf related. It definitely was not, there was not this circle thing on the head. That is the recent Mandela for me. I have never seen a blue shirt either. Did I even ever see the blue eyes? I thought they were black. Even the eyes, I'm really suspicious. I think they were supposed to be black. That's one where I kind of maybe didn't notice. See, like they look black there. But then when you add that circle thing on the hat, I am 100% on the circle thing on the hat. It looks stupid because he looks like he's got 3 freaking eyes now because those are blue. That's blue. Come on. How did we get there? Your old videos, I remember hearing you say that there was bread back on the plate. I have gone back and forth. Now remember, if there's a Mandela now, then it's gonna it'll go retroactive because I can't. It will not allow me to be saying, "Hey, look, there's If you go back now, you will not find me looking at a plate saying, hey, bread's back on the plate. You will not see it. I will be saying some other dumbass thing, probably what I'm saying now. And that's one of the reasons I hate to look back, because I have seen before that I was not saying the thing I know I said, because it changes to match the current reality. And I hate that. It's disturbing. I'm like, that is not me. I don't know if the video is just magically altered or if there was a whole nother me that actually said that. Fish. Well, I've said a lot of things because it keeps changing. and there was like this really blurry fish looking stuff, and I had looked it up, and it had said, I believe it was in the wiki, that it is believed to be fish. And now I'm like, okay, it does kind of look like, if you took a fish and kind of went like that. So the scarf started out blue, turned white, and now it's back to blue, but only, okay. Okay, that is how I remember it, that it was blue, okay, and that the white was wrong, okay. That spot on the hat, that was not there. That was not there. And I'm really skeptical on the blue eyes, but I am sure that that blue spot on the hat was not there. Only something I will replay this live. The words will, yeah. And like songs are like that all the time now. It just little word swaps. I don't even cover it anymore because every song has a little word swap or two or three or four. The becomes and becomes or words that mean the same thing but aren't the same thing. Okay, so Jackie noticed that we've had this on before, one of the planets that rain diamonds. Now, I can't remember which planet it was, but I do know that it wasn't 4 planets. Well, we now have 4 planets. When I was looking up hers, I found 4 planets now that are believed to rain diamonds. So this article says Uranus and Neptune. Why not say all 4 of them then? But because 2022 there was 2 others, so I think the timeline scramble. Even the articles can't keep up, because wouldn't you mention all 4 of them if instead of just 2? So this is another thing. I remember the gas giants, but apparently now some of them are called ice giants. When did I ever see ice giants? Maybe recently, but that's it. They were gas giants. But what's weird is they're calling them ice giants, but then this article says they're really not having anything to do with ice. Okay, why are we calling them ice giants, though? Ice giants supposedly are the ones that rain the diamonds, but then some that aren't ice giants are also listed as possibly raining diamonds. So it's all ridiculous, but I kind of highlighted this article because it just explains the extra ridiculousness of it all. Alright, ice giants may conjure the image of a Tolkien-esque creature, but it's the name astronomers use to categorize the outermost planets of the solar system, Uranus and Neptune. Confusingly, though, the name has nothing to do with ice in the sense you would normally recognize it, as in, say, ice cubes in your drink. The distinction comes from what these planets are made of. The gas giants of the system, Jupiter and Saturn, are made mostly entirely of gas, hydrogen and helium. It's through the rapid accretion of those elements that these huge planets manage to swell to their current size. In contrast, Uranus and Neptune are made mostly of water, ammonia, and methane. So we've got water all over Uranus and Neptune now. Okay, I guess that makes sense because Neptune, isn't that the god of water? So I guess Neptune is going to be very watery. Now that I actually think of it, astronomers, so water, ammonia, and methane, astronomers commonly call these molecules ices. Do astronomers call those molecules ices? I have never heard of that crap, but there really isn't a good reason for it, except that when the planets first formed, those elements were likely in solid form. So I thought that those outer ones were just icy, and that's why they were called ice planets, but now they're gassy, but they're not icy. Like Pluto, I thought was icy, but like, was there a timeline when those were icy, and that's why they were the ice giants? But now they're not the ice giants. They're called the ice giants, but they're not icy. They don't have ice. I don't buy this. Why would astronomers call water, ammonia, and methane ices? Have anybody ever heard of that? Deep beneath the green or blue cloud, tops of Uranus and Neptune, there's a lot of water, ammonia, and methane. But these ice giants likely have rocky cores surrounded by elements that are probably compressed into exotic quantum states. Okay, so the gas giants are getting rocky cores now. And I feel like that is kind of a change. Truth be told, we don't know a lot about the interiors of the ice giants. So, ice giants, either they're going to get icy or they were icy and were spreading out of it. Because they weren't ice giants for me, and they aren't really icy now. So where did that name even come from? Like, I could see that if they were icy, then maybe we would start calling them the ice giants. But now they're saying they're not icy. I'm thinking it's the clash of the timelines is why a lot of this stuff makes no sense. Diamond rain was first proposed before Voyager 2, which launched in 1977. We know that stuff gets hotter and denser, deeper into a planet you go. The mathematical modeling helps fill the details. Those same models tell us that the outermost layers of the mantles are somewhat cooler, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the models say that it should be diamonds, large-grown diamonds. We should send a spacecraft to check it out. Based on everything we know about the composition of ice, diamond rain is a very real thing. What was this article? It was like, yes, there really is diamond rain on Uranus and Neptune, except for we don't actually know that. We're just guessing based on modeling. But I love that how the article title doesn't even match like when you read it. It makes it sound like we know for sure. We don't know for sure. They would call them fart giants, and everyone would believe, well, if they're full of sulfur, that would make sense. Okay, so there we go. Those two supposedly rained diamonds, but then, so it was Uranus and Neptune, but then over here, they're like, wait, diamond rain may fill the skies of Jupiter and Saturn, so that's 4 planets now. Why is it that, this info was not included in the Neptune and Uranus? Did they change their mind and these don't do diamonds? Because I swear when I first heard the diamonds, there was just one planet that rained diamonds. But some of these articles also say there may be thousands of exoplanets. Exoplanets did not even exist in my old timeline. Like, planets were shackled to stars, okay? And then there was like meteors and stuff. But the big planets were yoinked up by stars. But now we have like planets just blasting around the universe, cruising along, and they're exoplanets. Okay, so the saying goes, diamonds are a girl's best friend. Chunks of diamonds may be floating in the hydrogen-helium fluid deep in the atmospheres of Saturn and Jupiter. Extreme pressure and temperature can melt the precious gem, making it rain liquid diamond. And then they're saying as they float down, they would get recompressed into even perhaps diamond bergs because they would be so large. Diamonds form when elemental carbon or soot falls into the deep atmosphere of the planet or is crushed into the gem. So it could be graphite or soot created by huge lightning storms on Saturn. Graphite or soot. I'm kind of confused how, like, usually soot is like the burnt up stuff that fire leaves, but what stuff is getting burnt up? I don't know. Scientists have known that stable diamonds may exist in the chilly cores of Neptune and Uranus, but until now, Jupiter and Saturn were thought too hot to allow for stable diamond formation. Although it is still a mysterious process. Okay, well, how did we decide it wasn't too hot? New diamond research at the American Astronomical Society says, I guess, that they could after all. An exoplanet 40 light years from solar system made largely out of diamond. Other research says now, the new research says it just maybe has some diamond, not all diamond. Okay, whatever. But you can see, I'm kind of scrolling through. There's kind of some neat stuff. Is that really supposed to be a moon photo? I don't recognize that one. Alright, that's definitely SpaceX. Alright, that's enough of that. Sometimes I see some really neat stuff scrolling on those. Alright, so we have 4 planets, at least 2, but probably 4 now that may be raining diamonds. You know, I just feel like it's such a clown world, like below ground flowers and 4 planets are raining diamonds. Seriously? There's water everywhere on these planets. It used to be rare. So many things are like ridiculous now. And those articles are from 2022 and 2013. So before I even knew of the Mandela for that one. Yeah, you can't follow the scientific process if it keeps magically changing by magical woo. I do feel like a lot of this is a giant troll. like below ground flowers. What's the point? Just spit off a puppy like other plants. Okay, so here, speaking of the storyline changes, I saw this and I'm like, oh, and is there a new cow that has like, or is that AI or what? But then they said, oh, that's the longhorn cattle, Ankoli Watusi. Now, I remember the Watusi one, but I don't remember Ankoli Watusi. But now I can't find any other Watusi ones other than Ankoli. Ankoli? I don't know. Ankoli. Wait, hold on. Let me just write this other stuff down. Pills. Alright, what else did we cover? I think I have the rest of this. Kind of disorganized today. I didn't even write down. Usually I write that stuff onto here. Okay. That way, if I click it off, then I'll have it. So, let's see if I can get this. I hate it when I can't do that. Ankoli. Okay, so I look up Ankoli Watusi because the horns look raw. I'm like, I don't remember them being like that. And a lot of them aren't, but I don't even remember them being like this. I don't remember them being like longhorn cows. those look all wrong to me compared to how I remember the Watusi. So I'm like scrolling. And I covered the Watusi for a long time. And finally I found this is how it's been, okay? For a long time, this was Watusi, okay? They had the fat ones. Even this one is not exactly like the one I remember, but it's close, where they were straight and then they were getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, like just ridiculously fat, okay? But they were like this. They were all like this. Some were bigger, some were smaller. And then there I realized there's another thing. Another thing's changed is like the Watusi, they were all brown animals before. They weren't spotted and speckled like these cows are. But now a lot of the Watusi have like that cow pattern to them. Okay, so if this guy was brown and then those about right, those horns are about right. They didn't look like regular cow horns, but now it just says Watusi have all different kinds of horns, and this seems to be the less common version now, and the more common one are like, are you gonna do it like these? Okay, but sometimes they even curl up into these heart shapes. And then I was reading that they call this the heart. So I'm thinking we're going to get more heart shapes because they were calling this the heart Watusi. Let me see if I can find that again in a minute here. But yeah, so like that doesn't look right. That's not how they were. They were those big ones. So now there's all kinds. There's this kind. There's the kind that flip into the heart. Some of them look a lot more like a longhorn cow. Is that a longhorn? That even might be a longhorn cow. I don't even know. Let's see. Visit. What kind of cow is that? No, it says it's an Ankoli Watusi. All right. See, but it looks like a longhorn cow. So something is fishy. And Ankoli Watusi. Those guys are more brown, but then they have like this weird white around the nose. What's up with that? Like a dog or something? Yeah, they have white snout tips. Those guys don't, but those other ones did. Look at that, has like, this is one this has been showing up the last couple years, this like ghost face thing. It's not my favorite, but horses, a lot of horses have that now. Okay, so more Ankoli Watusi. So those look a lot more like a longhorn style. I looked to see if there's like a split, because it just seems like that's a different kind of animal than the longhorn ones, but no. See, doesn't that look like a different kind of? Then we have this guy. Looks very traditional. It doesn't say what animal that one is, so that's a little questionable. Anyway, so I think there's been like a big shift in these Watusi, because most of them have these more curved upright ones, and some of them are longhorn style, and some are all the way into heart shapes. Doesn't say those are Watusi. I'm thinking the Watusi, they're going to have to split into separate species, because there's no way that is the same species as these upright ones. It just doesn't look right. And even that doesn't look like the one that I saw originally. So maybe we'll get like different colors and stuff, and they'll have their own. Also interesting, when I looked these up before, I never saw like this many all together. So there's probably more of them now. I think when they first showed up, they were kind of rare. It's just like the classic pattern for Mandelas. Pink elephants. Remember when that was a joke? Like if you were crazy, you saw pink elephants? Mexico doesn't have like native elephants, does it? All right. Pink elephants of Mexico. All right, I'm not seeing any pink elephants in Mexico. Let's try pink elephants. I don't remember Mexico having elephants, but you never know anymore. Seeing pink elephants is a euphemism for hallucinations. Yeah, so it still is, but now there really are pink elephants. Quiet. Stop. Where's the pink elephant? Alright, I'm not seeing it. Here. Let's try here. Oh, maybe it's that thing? Yeah, I think that's the one right there. It's all filthy, so you can't tell. Alright, well, that's not helping me any. It doesn't really come up, but the thing is, if you look at them now, they do have... here we go. Naturally color muted animals. Dumbo was right. Okay, here's another one. Pink elephant in the woods. I mean, it is freaking pink, too. Pink albino elephant. There's another one. Alright, so we have them, but not specifically in Mexico. Okay, yeah, so you're trolling me. You can't tell anymore because everything that used to be a joke, a lot of it is real now. Underground flowers. I mean, if you had tried to pull that on me 10 years ago, it's like, did you know there's underground flowers that just stay underground? What's the point? I mean, like, sounds so ridiculous. Watusi. Oh, I think I did. Yeah, I did cover this one. Okay, I already wrote that one down. We did cleistogamy. Did those. And Ankoli Watusi's heart refers to his distinctive, massive, and hollow horns, which are natural radiator system to help cool the animal's blood in hot climates. Is that true? I don't trust this AI that much. Let me ask the other AI that doesn't hallucinate as much. Alright, this one's not finding anything. Alright, the cooling system story seems legit. Horns are not just for show. They're a natural cooling system. Blood circulating through the honeycomb bone of the horns is cooled by the air and then returned to the body. Medium-sized, elegant breed known for their docile temperament. Hardy, efficient, tolerate extreme temperatures. One of the oldest cattle breeds. All right, so that's not really holding up that heart story so much. And that could have been just a fake guess by the other AI. That other AI kind of sucks sometimes. It was a joke, but you didn't know pink elephants were real, huh? Yes, they are real now. The troll in the timelines with the pink elephants, not in here specifically. They can hide. Yeah, you can have the pink elephants in the underground flowers. Humans can regrow brain cells. Thank God. It's good to know that I can, actually. Where are pink elephants? They're just around. They're like albino, but they're pink. So right now there's not like whole herds of them, but there are some. Like they just naturally pop out by accident, I guess. All right, I've had this floating island on, but I swear it gets bigger all the time. Wisconsin's Lake Chippewa. It's so big now. I tried to look up floating islands and I couldn't even find this one unless I typed in Chippewa. So I wonder if there's like a shift on floating islands, because sometimes when you can't find anything in the images, it's because it's shifting it. It's not going to show you until it's done or somewhat done. So this island supposedly floats around, and then they have to get their boats behind it sometimes and shove it out of the way. So every time I see it, there's like more boats because the island's bigger. And it's always been big, though. It's always been big. So it's a big freaking floating island. It's ridiculous. It wasn't that bad when it's just a little bitty thing, and you could kind of imagine, okay, maybe it's just a big peat bog. But now it's like, ugh, how big are the trees going to get on it? Let's see if it says anything interesting, actually. Lake Chippewa. Known for its unique floating bogs. Oh, so there's more than one of them now. The Chippewa flowage. Floating bog. So there's more than one. Let's just take a look. So that also has... There was just that one before. Chippewa flowage. I've not heard of the Chippewa flowage. The Chippewa flowage is the floating bogs. The island you see in the bay outside your cabin may totally move to a new location the next day. Bogs can range in size from the size of a parking space to several acres. The 40-acre bog on the west side of the flowage sports mature tamarack trees. A bog can remain in a familiar location for years, but they are also known to move significantly distances. When conditions are right, a huge bog was located off Deerfoot Lodge for more than 30 years. Then high water combined with high winds moved the bog, which eventually broke up into smaller pieces that were further scattered. When Chippewa flowage was created in 1923, much of the land was flooded with swamp. Many of these swampy areas, actually peat bogs floated to the surface. Over time, seeds and birds flying overhead germinated on the bogs. Plants from the grasses and trees began to grow. The bog you see today can be quite developed into mature trees. Although the flowage was created 80 years ago, new bogs can be created any time. A phenomenon known as mud bogs can appear at any time, although they show up more frequently in the fall. They will either rise to the surface temporarily and then slowly sink down to the bottom again, or they may stay permanently on the surface and eventually develop plants and trees. This is pretty bizarre. It's just like islands just kind of float up, and maybe they'll stay and maybe they won't. All right, when I was first looking at that, there was just one freaking floating island. Now it's just, I should have guessed this. I don't even know why I'm surprised. So there's that's a 40-acre one now. That's big. That was a 40-acre Chippewa bog. Chippewa bog. 40 acres. Is that really 40 acres? It actually doesn't even look big enough to be 40 acres. 40 acres is pretty big. That does not look like 40 acres. Maybe it's going to become 40 acres, but I'm pretty sure that's not no 40 acres. It looks like 3 acres or 2 acres. Aren't those... Unless that's not the biggest one. Okay, mature tamarack. It does look like it's mature tamarack trees. I'll tell you, those trees look... there's more of them, and they're bigger. A lot bigger than 1 year of watching could account for. But, okay. I don't think it's really 40 acres yet. But I have never heard of it being called the 40-acre bog either. So, I think we're heading towards that. I've never heard of it called the Chippewa flowage either, so... Is Earth a soul-trap prison? Planet ruled by a fallen demiurge being that pulled us here against our will. So everybody I know that have ever like done the spiritual journey or any of that crap, they all say that we came here by choice. But then it is somewhat of a trap. And in my experience, I was like, this is really interesting. It's really cool. And there's so many interesting spectrum of energies that I was attracted. But then once you're in here, it's like it's contaminating you. You got that energy of this place on you, and that energy is heavy. So then that is what keeps you from escaping. It's that heavy energy. You can't leave. Nothing really holds you back. You just can't get... It's like if you drown, nothing is really forcing... Say you fall into the water and you're drowning. Nothing is really killing you or forcing you to die. You just don't know how to swim. That's basically it. So say that you didn't know how to swim, but you also didn't fully die. That's sort of like here. So basically, if you want to get out, you got to learn how to swim. You got to learn how to get lighter, and then you can get the hell out again. But from what I saw, like, we were warned, but it's sort of like, yeah, it's not that hard. You ever done that? Like, I can do it. It can't be that bad. And then you get there. Like, when I was a kid, I did this a lot. I can do it. You know, when you're like 5, you think you're all that in a bag of chips. Like, I thought I could totally beat my brother at checkers, even though he was like 11 and I was 5. I was going to kick his butt because I was all that. And of course he kicked my butt because he was 11, I was 5. And he kicked my butt like 3 times. And I was like shocked because I thought like, I'm confident I can do it. And then I had to sit there and go, how could I lose? Like, hard lessons for a 5-year-old. I thought I would win. I just felt like I should win. I did not win, you know. I had to admit weakness. The boats push it out of the way. So basically the story now is like if the big bog kind of floats into a bad spot, they just shove it with a whole bunch of boats. So you're not trapped really by a deceptive being so much because you're warned. You're like, hey, dumbass, if you go down there, it's going to be hard to get out. And you're like, I could do it. And they told you. And then you get down here and you're like, it's hard to get out. So you kind of, it's your fault, basically. Then you learn a ton. You get out. have you ever done that? Like, okay, something was really hard. You didn't like it at the time. But after you're done, you survive through it. You learn a lot, and you're glad. You're like, I'm glad I don't want to do it again. It sucked, but I learned a ton. I'm a better person. Lessons that need to be, like my brother kicking my butt at checkers. It was an important lesson. I didn't like it at all, but I had to learn that stuff. And life is like full of those things. Like there's so many times where I didn't respect somebody's suffering. I didn't understand. Why did I not understand? Why did I not respect? Why didn't I not have sympathy? And I thought, oh, well, I'll never do that. And then it happened to me. And then I understood. I understood how hard it was. I understood all the, I don't know, I won't have exact feelings they have, but some of the feelings. And the only way for me to really learn and to have sympathy was to experience that. So that's kind of like how I look at this whole life. There's a lot of things I learned. It was hard. I don't want to do it again, but I am still glad that I had it happen because I learned a lot and I got stronger. And a lot of those things were, like, looking back, they were my fault. I walked into them because I thought I was all that in a bag of chips. Now, not every one of them, but a lot of them were like checkers. I challenged my brother to a game of checkers so I could kick his butt. And you know what? Maybe I was traveling. No, it just didn't seem like it. And everybody else I've heard also saw it this way, is that you were warned. There's like a contract situation on the other side where the terms are agreed on in advance. Like this is the terms. And so there's really not that much sneakiness. The more important it is, and it also seems like there are, I'm trying to even say this, like, it's so hard to explain it. It seems like there are people, entities, spirits, whatever, that are around the outside that are like warning you, like they're not the evil one. So I don't know, it seems almost like it's kind of a cross point where like the two sides interact, the good side and the bad side, and so there's this constant, like a battleground area maybe. There's rules of engagement, there's terms. Like a giant game of checkers. You can only do these things. But not everybody playing are like kind, good spirits, for sure. I don't believe in the contract notion. I don't know what to tell you other than it really just seems like that's a thing. Like, you can't be made to do something against your will out there. Like, you have your own autonomy completely. But you could be convinced to do something. Like, but it's kind of complicated. Like, you have that energy feeling. So, like, say, you're a good and kind person and somebody tried to convince you to kick a dog. Well, you'd be like, no, F off. You're not going to get convinced because it is just incompatible with your nature. And what if they go, oh, but have you ever tried kicking a dog? It's fun. The way the fur feels, it's great. You'll get good luck if you kick a dog, blah, blah. You'd still be like, F off. No, I am not doing it. You can't get fooled. So there's like an energy thing there. Maybe if you're kind of like neutral on dogs, you didn't really care about them either way, and then you heard all that stuff, maybe try kicking a dog. Because you're already kind of over there, right? You didn't care about dogs. But there's like you can get convinced, but only to an extent because you're still you, and also there are, from my experience, guardians on the other side saying, no, don't do it. Like, it's almost literally like the angel and the devil on your shoulder. They're not really sitting on their shoulder, but Like, it's who you listen to. You know, there's the, which one attracts you, the good or the bad. And I do think that that's this earth too. What's attracting? Where do you put your attention? You know, this guy is evil, this guy is good. Who is going to pull your attention the most? And a lot of that has to do with your own nature. And then it also a lot has to do with the direction you're trying very hard to move in. I would not agree to be in a chaotic mystery world. Well, see, that was the thing, okay? That I experienced from my perspective was that you can't really understand it until you're in there. And when you're on the outside, it's like the checkers. I just really thought that I was going to win those checkers, kick my brother's butt, and have a good old laugh because I was so effing awesome. And so I agreed to play with the checkers because I was sure I was going to win, you know. But you just can't imagine. I just did not have the brain cells and understanding to imagine an alternative situation. And so that was kind of how this was. Like, I didn't think it would be this hard. And then once I did it, I was like, I don't like it and I want to quit. But you can't, because now you're contaminated by the heavy energy and the negativity and all the stuff. And so now the only way out is to clean that off, to like evolve enough, you know. So it is like a trap that way. But I still agreed to go. But I agreed to go because I was a dumbass. Like, I thought I was so freaking smart. That it wasn't going to be hard. And when I get out, I'll probably be glad I did it. But while I'm here in the middle of doing it, it doesn't always feel that fun. And there's definitely times where I'm like, duh, this sucks. Why did I agree to this? But, you know, and there's so many things in life like that. And I think maybe the whole life is like that. So you kind of didn't, but you kind of did. You were warned, you didn't listen. It's kind of like that. You know, if you kicked the dog and it bit you, but your mom said, don't kick dogs, they'll bite you. And you're like, no, he won't bite me. You kick the dog, he bites you. And then you say, well, I didn't agree to get bit by a dog. Well, yeah, but you didn't listen either, did you? So you still have to take responsibility. That's kind of how I feel about it. You made your choice, and now you're going to have to. You made your bed, now you're going to have to lie in it. Okay, I'm not talking about mean dogs. I'm just talking about nice dogs in general, okay? Like, dogs you wouldn't want to kick. Besides, you know, if they're mean, you don't want to kick them either. They'll bite your foot off. So don't kick mean dogs either for a whole nother reason, okay? Anyway, that's my conception of it. I mean, I don't have proof, but I can say that if you look at a lot of other, this is something I've kind of come to an understanding on my own, but over time I've seen that there's a lot of other traditions that say kind of similar things when you actually read them. I do feel like if you read the older parts of the Bible, there's a lot of hints that are kind of similar too. Like, it says in the Bible that it's not what you do just that's important, but how you think. Like, it literally says that. And I think that's kind of like law of attraction thing. Like, if you look at the 10 Commandments and it says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Okay. So, like, it doesn't say don't go, like, doer, right? It says it's a thought, you know, and it says in even other places, in the Bible that the thought is important, your actual way you're thinking. And I think it's because you like basically are generating reality, and that's why. Otherwise it'd be just like all that matters is what you do, but that isn't all that matters, not from a spiritual perspective. I would prefer to have remembered if this was somehow my decision rather than feeling kidnapped. So it's part of the deal, you know. If you knew everything, it wouldn't be a test, would it? It's only a test because you have to make your decision without having all of the knowledge. I mean, like, if I played a game of checkers with my brother and somebody gave me a cheat sheet on all the moves that would be for sure I would win, then it's not really a game of checkers, is it? I mean, because it's just me cheating. I don't learn anything on the checkers unless I'm really playing according to the rules. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really convinced on the whole Bible thing, but sometimes I wonder, actually I sometimes wonder if some of it might just come true, like that thing with the fish, cuz now you see like whales accidentally almost swallowing people, but they won't really swallow them. They say that you'll just be trapped in the mouth, and there's like stories of dolphins helping people and stuff. I'm like, I kind of wonder if maybe you could get trapped in like the mouth of a whale and travel a long distance now, and whales are pretty smart, so maybe they would save you by doing that. It doesn't even seem that weird, because it's not any weirder than immaculate conception, and now we see that many creatures can do immaculate conception, parthenogenesis. They just magically become pregnant and there's no male. So there's even theorizing that it should be totally possible in humans. There's no real reason that says it can't, because there's nothing stopping it. We know that lots of other animals can do it. So if they're even theorizing that maybe there have been cases of immaculate conception, but then when the woman says, no, I didn't do any, the thing, people would be like, yeah, lady, sure, you're lying, so she's just going to have to shut up and deal with it. Or maybe she did have sex, but that one wasn't the sperm that did the job. Maybe it was immaculate conception. But the point is that they would never check for you, right? They would just assume you're lying. So you would not know if there was immaculate conception. So that is like the weirdest miracle thing to me out of the Bible, and yet now it's really not even that big a deal. So having a whale like put you in its mouth and take you to safety doesn't even seem all that strange either, considering the new narrative is that they're pretty smart, and that whales and dolphins and things sometimes help humans, and that they would somehow comprehend that we need air isn't actually all that weird anymore. So that's what I'm thinking. Maybe we'll get it eventually. Earth is a big fish container for us to become wiser. Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's been very true about myself. Sometimes you need your ass kicked to learn, because you just don't, like you think and then it gets really hard, and you really learn the hard way. And sometimes I had to learn the hard way, and I've seen it with others. I told you that's not a good idea. No, I know. And, and maybe it's just because humans are like that. I mean, sometimes I'm smart and I listen and I avoid problems, but other times, So anyway, we got apparently a whole bunch of these. So I guess the other ones are like the size that this one used to be. Floating islands. All right, I had on before those Icelandic horses that did the special trot gait. So the gait is, I don't even see how they do this. Normally, when they trot, like the back legs kind of go opposite, but apparently now there's a way where they both the legs on one side go forward, and then both the legs on the other side go forward, which it sounds ridiculous. You're kind of going and so the Icelandics, they call it gaited, and the Icelandics in that particular gait is called a tolt in the Icelandic ones, and the end result is a horse that doesn't bounce you around. Okay, so only the Icelandic one did the tolt last I looked, But now the Mongolians have one. And if you look at the Icelandic horses, now the articles will say that they're like the Mongolian ones. But I'm like, wait, they didn't have it in the Mongolian ones. But not all the Mongolian ones do this currently. But the ones that do this, where they have this special... So generally speaking, if they have more than the normal gaits, they're just called gated. And then which kinds of abnormal gaits they have will vary, but generally all of those abnormal gaits are ones that will make the ride smooth. So if you're tired of going like this on the horse, well, the universe invented a horse that's smooth now. And here is a very nice example. This is a Mongolian horse. They don't call it tolting. They call it, what was that freaking word? Jaru, I think. It's a Jaru horse, something like that. Joru. All right, so they're just saying that sometimes they're just born with the ability to do it. Moves both its right hooves at one time, then both left. Such horses are called Joru. It is said they glide as though on ice, so smoothly that one can trot along on one holding a full cup and not spill any of the contents. Okay, so this is the exact same narrative that was on the Icelandics. The story is that you could just like drink coffee while they're running because it's so smooth that, you know, as long as the cup wasn't so close to full. So now there's all these people saying, well, of course the Mongolians had this because they were great warriors known for their aim on horseback with the arrow. And so they had these Joru, which run smoothly. So now you can shoot your arrow. And, you know, thinking of this, there's this sport where they ride horses and shoot arrows. And why don't they all use gaited horses? Because all of the ones I have seen where they were trying to do that, they use the gallopy horses. But so this is Joru. You can see the gait. Of course, it was taken on a potato, probably because it's new to the timeline. Does that not look like ridiculous? So this guy's galloping normally, and this one is doing, this is a Joru. Looks like that they have tied up the tail a little. I'm afraid to do too much at once without cutting it up, because then I might get copyright or something, who knows. But you can see that this one hauls at approximately the same speed as all these galloping ones, which is pretty impressive, because that's one thing I hadn't really understood. It looks to me like you couldn't keep this up for long because you'd be pooped out if you were a horse. This looks like way more tiring. But supposedly they can go a long way this way. And it seems like the narrative is saying that they can just bop along. Just like they're galloping. I just feel like it looks tiring, but I guess that's not for me to decide. It's for the timeline. So you can see that this guy, there's a little jiggling, right? But it's not... Okay. So one of the things with horseback riding is that, like, all that bouncing around on the galloping and stuff, it makes you tired. So these horses are fairly prized for their not bouncing you around. Okay, so that guy's galloping. See, boink, boink, boink. This guy's Jaru. Now, interesting, there seems to be some other Jarus over here. This poor sucker did not get a Jaru. Maybe he's low ranking or something, but all of these are. Of course, they've got the truck. Okay, so, and this is interesting because if these guys have it, this guy has it. Only one doesn't. So a fair number of these horses must be born with this ability. He spelled it wrong. Smelled it wrong. See, there they're talking about, oh, that's why they were such good archers. Of course, makes sense. So this gaited horse thing, it's like everywhere now. Well, like a Mongolian horse, yeah, but the Joru special gait, was that around forever for you? I mean, Mongolia wasn't even a country before. Not anymore when I was born in the other timeline. Wish I could walk that smoothly. I walk like an 80-year-old sometimes. This is how I have found that I can make an improvement. But it takes a lot of effort to change the way your mind thinks. But the trick is to kind of let go of all the negative thoughts, or most of them. They're not all going to be gone, but concentrate on the positive. So first you got to believe it's possible for you to do it. 'Cause it's very hard to do something if you don't believe it's possible. It just seems like that lack of belief is a huge problem. So you got to first believe it's possible. Whatever machinations you have to do in your mind. Like, okay, so like I want to be more healthy. I could sit here and go, oh, I hate being not healthy. I've never been healthy. What if there's a genetic problem? What if I'm dying of cancer? I could do that all day. Or I could say, I'm getting better. I've made progress. I bet you there's more things that I can do. Hopefully it'd be great if I could learn those. I'm working on it, so the chances of me learning it, figuring out more things is good. I'm going to keep trying. Like those things. Okay, so if I spend as much time as I can with the attitude, that latter, better attitude, accept that it's possible, kind of internalize it. It's possible. Not only possible, it's very possible. Okay, because if you go, well, it's possible, oh, but I'll never figure it out, and what are the odds, and it's 1 in a million. Now you kind of like accept it as possible, then immediately denigrated that as possible, then you didn't really accept as possible. So you need to got to move your mind towards the as possible. Then maybe try to think of things you could do. What could I do? Maybe I could do some stretches. It's easy to go like this. That'll never work. Stretches. That's ridiculous. I can't even touch my toes. It's very easy to go negative. And then it's like, okay, no, well, maybe if I practiced for 3 weeks, I would be able to touch my toes. Maybe if I went on Google and read some stuff and took some glucosamine and chondroitin and, got some sunshine, and then you'll be like, that'll never work. And then you got to go, oh, well, maybe it will work. Maybe I should try it. Maybe I'll just try 27 things in a row and then see which ones help most. And, so it's like this game, right? Yeah. So to get better, you got to stay on that good side as much as possible. And the more you internalize it and the more you kind of let go of the habits that are the negative, and the more you kind of lean into the positive and internalize it and imagine doing it. Like, would it be great if I could walk down to the store without a problem and enjoy it? And then the negative will sneak in and it'll go like, no, you're such and such years old. You're not going to get back. Oh, wait. So it's like this game. So like it's pegging it this way. Okay. That's how I get stuff done. Attitude and frame of mind is critical. Yes. I mean, basically that's it. And they always say that, but like how do you get the attitude and frame of mind? Like they don't tell you that. Like, it's so easy to say, okay, I'm such an idiot because I have a bad frame of mind and I never have a good frame of mind. And you could actually, like, it's so sneaky that you're always playing this game. Like, you can take the good advice and make it bad, like, just like that. I am the queen of doing that, man. I can, like, undermine myself. So I'm now going to learn to be the queen of not doing that, right? See, you saw me. I almost went that way. And then I'm like, no, we're going to be the queen of this good thing now. Okay. So it's just it's just challenging. That is the word I want to use. Or at least it can be. And maybe for some people it isn't as challenging as it for me. But even if you aren't good at it, if you try harder than others, it's like even the person who kind of sucks at golf is still better than the guy who never picked up the golf club. So there's that too. Yeah, deflect and understand where the doubts are coming from and get in the habit of thinking differently. And those things are not simple. So people are always like, oh, well, you know, that's stupid. You can't just do blah, blah, blah. Changing the way you think is like for most people, it's a gradual process. Or you do it for a few days, but you'll backslide. It's a whole habit thing. It's a whole mental habit thing. And probably a lot of us have been doing our mental habits for like decades. So exercise from the basics, do 20 jumping jacks, do some stretches. Yeah, you know, and for me, I did have to like work on glycine and collagen and glucosamine and some of those things to rebuild some of the cartilage, because now it is now accepted that you can rebuild cartilage and ligaments and stuff in the current reality. It's not even a question. So I did need to do some of that. Or maybe I just thought I needed to, but whatever, you know, it worked. So write it down what you want to manifest. Yes. But also I think your attitude about it is the most important thing. And if you know, you get one thing and you kind of see how it went and you kind of see how you manifested and the attitude you needed. And when you got to that attitude, then it kicked in. That kind of gives you more information like, okay, that worked. I did it on this one thing. That means I can do it on another thing. You know a little more about how it works, you know, but so everybody's got different mindsets, obstacles and stuff, but I really think a lot of it is seeing what your own mental obstacles are and retraining your mental attitude on stuff. And then even especially in the current reality where the official storyline is that you can regrow damaged things and all those. So, you know, even the current storyline is on your side on these things. Every time I try to journal, it always turns out like a negative reflection session. Okay, so then I would say, turn your mind on that issue there. Like, okay, why do you think that is? What do you need to do to not have that? How would it feel to not have that happen? Think about that a lot. What would it feel like to not have it turn out like a negative reflection session? And what steps do you think would work for it not being a negative reflection session? Now watch as you say those things, like what obstacles and buts come up in your mind, and then work on those. Okay, well, why do you say that? You know, where does that come from? You know, it's a little different in everybody, and I think a lot of it goes back to childhood things you learned. You know, you're told these things, and you internalize them, and then now we decided that those things are not the most efficient for our life, right? So what do we do to change that habit? Cringing at my past mistakes comes so naturally. That one is tricky. I think there's a time when you finally kind of forgive yourself for not being perfect. Like, say your friend did that mistake. Like, say your friend, when she was 15, did some silly thing, okay? Would you, like, cringe to death because she did it? Would you judge her so harshly? Or are you only judging yourself that harshly? Like, do you think you're so special that only you deserve to be judged so harshly? That's one area to look at. Like, are you even being fair to yourself at all? Maybe the cringe is so bad because you're just not very nice to yourself and you're so judgy on it. And then that'll start a whole thing. Okay, why am I so judgy on myself only? And learning about all the ways that you're judgy on yourself all day, you know. And I'm not saying that's exactly you, but it could be somebody. Like, it could have been, like, I've done a lot of that stuff. So I'm kind of looking at myself and extrapolating to you. I don't know if that's your exact issue, but there's a reason you're cringy. Excessively cringy. So, like, I was more that way, but now I think I've gotten more, like, it's just funny. Like, was a dumbass thing, and it's funny. It's funny. So it's not so painful now. I just, like, you know, kids, you think you're so smart. It's like losing at the checkers. It's hilarious now. Not all of them. I won't say I'm 100% uncringed, but I've definitely gotten a lot better at it. Yeah, and then that's it. Some of it is just being humble. It's weird because it's almost hard to describe how convoluted it is. But yeah, some of it is that. Yeah, the child mind, it does help a lot, the child mind. But not always, because the child learner mind is good, but the child I'm going to beat your ass at checkers mind isn't always that good, you know, because the child mind can be a spoiled little brat. The child mind has not learned certain things, like patience and things. So perhaps it'd be an adult version of the child mind. That is a mature version of the child mind. I think a lot of the journey is like unlearning stuff that you thought you knew, but is really just in your way. I think that's a huge thing. So in that way, anyways, I think this is why they write books on philosophy, because you really got to think through each question. I'm just looking to see what else on Goodall. Yeah, I think I covered everything I really wanted to. It's getting late, so I just found out about the giant wood moth. There's some huge butterflies and moths now. They're like this big and stuff. There's even like a cricket thing that's like this big. I swear to God, it looked like CGI, but it was just a little bit more before the AI stuff was real popular. And Wiki agrees that it exists, so you probably had that much neg, so just go with it. It's part of you. So no, I don't know. So for me, I had a lot of negativity. I think I was taught a lot of it because my parents were that way. Like, very, very, very much that way. Like, so, you know, you just internalize it, right? And then you just carry it a lot of times. But once you defeat like an extremely difficult habit, the one benefit is that you're pretty immune to that habit after a certain point. Once you've really learned that lesson, you're more immune to than somebody who hasn't learned that lesson. So there's that benefit. But I don't think the negativity helped me. I can't really think of a time that it was particularly useful. I think it has definitely, I have self-sabotaged a lot because of the negativity. Because, you know, if you get this attitude like it's not going to work and you're not good enough and blah, 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 then you just don't try things. Like, it's not worth my time. You don't, you're not willing to gamble any of your time, or not much of your time, because you've already decided it's not going to work. And then I definitely look and think of like, and I see, you know, it's easier to see it in other people than yourself. It's just one of the ironies of the world is when that guy's being an idiot, it's like really obvious. Like, but when you're an idiot, it's definitely harder to notice. Now, they might be looking at you going, you're an idiot, but you don't see it. And that is the giant challenge, is to not spend all your time saying those guys are idiots, but look at how you're an idiot. And Once you do that, once I did that, I really saw how much I self-sabotage. And you will see it in people around you, but you are probably doing it too, and you don't notice. So that's the trick. It's sort of like these Mandela things, you know, they're right there and you don't notice. The self-sabotage is there too, and you have to look hard for it. What about the blue monkey? Are we talking about those mandrel things, or is it another one? Yeah, I do think there's been a timeline shift, but you know, we have them, what, every like 3 or 4 weeks now? Not mandrel. What's the blue monkey? Blue monkeys. Blue monkey. The blue monkey. Diademid monkey. It's an old world monkey. Okay, so it's a blue monkey, but it doesn't look blue. It probably will eventually be blue. Are these those mumbler monkeys? They got in big groups and stuff. Blue. The blue monkey often has a slate gray cast that can look blue to observers. No, I don't think that's that mumbler bunch of monkeys. I don't even know what these are. Yep, no, that's a different batch. I don't think I've seen those. I have a suspicion that eventually all these blue whatevers are going to get actually blue. But they're right now, they're slate gray. Now, mandrels still have. So is there another blue monkey that we're talking about besides the blue monkey? So they say they're slate gray. I'm very suspicious that the name will come true eventually. But I mean, the mandrels do have a big bunch of blue, so it's actually not that weird. And we have definitely seen animals that started out like brown get a whole bunch of colors, like those tree kangaroos and those ridiculous squirrels. Okay, anyway, it is super late, so I'm going to head on out. So I covered just about everything I wanted to. It was kind of a quiet week, actually. I didn't see too much, so that was enough. There was 2 very interesting ones with the underground flowers. Come on now. Especially I don't know why it bugs me, the underground flowers. Who thinks of these things? I don't know. All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming. You know the drill. Think good thoughts. This is Eva, signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.